Waitress exposes incredible secret. Billionaire CEO discovers hidden connection to her dad's life. Jess stood behind the counter at the cozy corner diner, the scent of brewed coffee swirling around her like a warm hug. With a quick sweep of her rag, she wiped the speckled countertop, smiling at the regulars who filled the room with laughter and stories. As she served plates of homemade pancakes and freshly baked pies, she felt a stirring inside her, an indomitable hope that one day she would break free from these chains of circumstance. Life had never been easy, juggling shifts to pay the bills while caring for her younger brother and single mom. But she persevered. One slow afternoon, while sorting through old memorabilia for a charity event at the diner, Jess stumbled upon a dusty photo hidden beneath a stack of chipped plates. It was her father, smiling broadly in his military uniform, a local hero whose integrity and kindness resonated through the small town. The image tugged at her heart, and she closed her eyes, recalling how his work ethic had shaped her values, the sacrifices he made for their family echoing through her memory. Tears burned at the corners of her eyes. "I'm trying, Dad. I promise," she whispered, swallowing her sorrow. It was on that fateful day during the charity event when Ethan, a billionaire CEO clad in designer clothes, stepped into the diner's vibrant atmosphere. His sharp eyes landed on Jess, instantly captivated by her radiant energy. Conversations faded into the background as they locked gazes. "There's something about you," he admitted, a softness in his voice that made her heart race. Little did she know, Ethan carried a weight of connection to her father's legacy, a link between their past that neither had yet discovered. As their friendship blossomed, they spoke of family, bravery, and honor, breaking down the barriers of wealth that separated them. They shared stories and dreams, Jess revealing her aspiration for a life beyond the confined walls of the diner. Ethan listened, a thoughtful expression adorning his handsome face. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." However, their idyllic moments shattered as Ethan's ambitious plans sparked discontent in the community. The cozy corner, a cornerstone of Maplewood's culture, faced the threat of closure due to Ethan's proposal to modernize the diner. Whispers of betrayal slithered through the streets. Jess found herself torn between the opportunity of a better life Ethan offered and her loyalty to the very place that held her father's legacy. As the clatter of dishes echoed around her, Jess felt a storm brewing inside. She couldn't walk away from her family and the diner that had always stood as a symbol of their heritage. In a moment of heartache, Jess confronted Ethan, revealing her father's heroic past, a story of courage that demanded respect and compassion, a revelation that could alter their path forever. As silence enveloped the diner, Jess prepared for the monumental choice that loomed ahead. Would she stand up for her family's honor or chase a dream that seemed too good to be true? The room felt charged, each breath a question, each heartbeat a possibility. Could one person truly make a difference? Or would ambition eclipse the honor her father had fought for? As Jess's resolve hardened, the storm outside mirrored the turmoil within, urging her to find her voice before it was too late. The first drop of rain splattered against the window, breaking the tension in the diner. Jess didn't notice the darkening sky. Her focus was locked on Ethan. His face, usually so composed, now reflected uncertainty. He had listened to her story, the wind taken out of his sails, but she didn't see the guilt in his eyes. Not yet. "Jess, I had no idea." Ethan's voice trembled slightly as he spoke, his brows knitted together. The way he looked at her now felt different, less like a millionaire eyeing opportunity, and more like a man grappling with his own conscience. "What were you thinking?" The words escaped her mouth before she could stop them. "You come in here, change everything, and don't even consider the people it would hurt." As much as she wanted to temper her frustration, fear poured out uncontrollably. Her family needed this diner. It was their anchor. Jess's heart raced, a buildup of anguish that had been lurking beneath the surface. She felt like the storm outside, desperate to unleash the chaos brewing within. This place means everything to my family. It's not just a business. It represents hope, love, and my father's legacy. The passion in her voice caught him off guard, flickering like the lights that momentarily dimmed with the thunder. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, visibly struggling with his next words. I thought I could help. Maplewood needs innovation. I didn't see he hesitated, swallowing hard. I didn't realize the impact on the community or you. Jess felt a pang of pity somewhere inside her, but it didn't ease the ache of betrayal. You didn't think, she replied, pushing against the growing empathy. All you saw were dollar signs and new ideas. You don't know what it's like to fight for every single moment, Ethan. Suddenly, the room was too small. Every eye in the diner turned toward them, caught in the tension of the moment. She could feel the weight of the regulars' gazes, their support both a comfort and a burden. It was as if the cozy corner itself was holding its breath, waiting for the clash of two worlds. But then, in a moment of unexpected clarity, Jess saw beyond the walls of the diner. What if she could bridge the divide instead of burning it down? Look, if you want to help, then really help. What about a plan that honors what my father built, while also upgrading? She pressed on, her imagination igniting. We could modernize without losing the heart of this place. Ethan's eyes widened, an ember of hope flickering in the depths. You mean combine efforts? Your vision could lead the changes. Yes. Jess's heart thudded with a mixture of exhilaration and fear. But it's got to be on my terms. For my family, for this community. The rain poured outside, a steady rhythm that seemed to echo the thumping of her heart. Could this really work? Could they actually save the diner together? Ethan nodded, determination sharpening his features. I'm in. I'll do whatever it takes. But even as they leaned toward a common goal, an unsettling doubt danced at the edges of Jess's mind. Was this partnership truly built on understanding? Or just an illusion of compromise? The moment felt electric, charged with potential and peril. Jess took a deep breath, her heart fluttering between hope and caution. With every choice she made, the stakes grew higher. And as the diner filled with murmurs of possibility, Jess couldn't shake the feeling that shadows still lurked in the background, waiting for the wrong move to unravel everything. What secrets did Ethan hide? And would they threaten the very dream they were trying to build? The rain intensified, thick droplets pelting the windows like nature's own applause. Jess tried to shake off the feeling of anxiety, but it clung to her like a second skin. She glanced around the diner, her eyes meeting the familiar faces of the regulars, the retired teachers, the young families, the lonely poets who found solace in their corner booth. They were the heartbeat of Cozy Corner, and she could feel their hopes tied to her like it was a family heirloom. Ethan shifted in his seat, breaking her train of thought. So what is the first step? He asked, a hint of eagerness in his tone. She felt a flicker of something. Was it excitement or terror? Perhaps it was a blend of both. A new recipe she wasn't sure how to fine-tune. First, we need to do an inventory of everything, what we can keep, what needs modernizing, and what might be worth letting go. The words rolled off her tongue, almost freeing. And we need the community's input. This can't just be us. It's got to be a team effort. He nodded, but his brow furrowed again. I want to be transparent about what I can offer. I've got resources and connections that could bring in more foot traffic and more. Jess interrupted, feeling the spark of worry rise again. This isn't just about traffic. It's about keeping the soul of this diner intact. Ethan smiled slightly, as if catching her drift. I get that. And you're right. We need to balance new ideas with what makes this place special. How do we keep the soul while adding freshness? Maybe we start with a community event, something to gather everyone's thoughts and spirits. It could be a retro night, with music and food. Jess felt positive energy flood her thoughts, ideas colliding in joyous chaos. Invite everyone who loves this place. Show them it's not just a business to be bought or sold, but a home. I like that. His words came out steady, an anchor in the growing sea of possibility. But there was still something he wasn't saying. A shadow cast over the bright vision they were crafting. As they sketched out ideas on napkins, Jess couldn't help but steal glances at Ethan. The way he wrote, his brows knitted in thought. There was an earnestness that made her heart race. Was he truly invested, or was this a facade? I'll bring my business partners into it, he said suddenly, his voice lighter now. Their input could help reinforce what you're doing. It'll show you aren't fighting alone. Your partners? Jess hesitated. How much do they know about? Well, you know everything? Enough. He sighed, the weight of those words heavy between them. But it's time they learned just how important Cozy Corner is. Before Jess could respond, the diner's bell chimed, and a gust of wind swept in, chilling the energy they'd built. An elderly woman entered, shaking water off her umbrella. She approached the counter, glancing curiously between Jess and Ethan. Hey, Mabel, Jess greeted, forcing a smile. Just planning a big community event. That's good to hear, Mabel remarked, her smile creasing her tired face. But then her gaze fell on Ethan, a flicker of recognition sparking in her eyes. You're the one who's been stirring things up around here. Ethan shifted uncomfortably, the lightness from before fading. Jess could see the tension gripping his shoulders, and suddenly, it was less about their collaboration and more about the shadows lurking behind him. Mabel's eyes narrowed, and the air thickened with discomfort. You'd best be careful of those who come to change things, dear. Sometimes the past has a way of coming back when you least expect it. Jess felt the hairs on her neck stand up. What past was Mabel hinting at? And what was Ethan hiding beneath his calm demeanor? As the words hung in the air, Jess realized that the more she drew closer to Ethan, the more she stepped into a web of secrets. What if this partnership turned out to be more than just a business venture? What if it unraveled truths about her father that she never wanted to uncover? Before Jess could voice her concerns, Ethan met her gaze, a question swirling in his expression. Are we really ready for this? She took a slow breath, feeling the charge in the air around them. This was no longer just about coffee and muffins. It was about loyalty, legacy, and the hidden stories waiting to break free. Could their bond withstand the storms ahead? And as the rain continued to fall, Jess knew one thing: this partnership was just the beginning of a much deeper journey. The tension in the diner simmered, thick and charged, as Mabel's words echoed in Jess's mind. She could hardly focus on the half-formed plans sprawled out before her on the table. It felt like a shadow had fallen across her and Ethan's budding partnership, darkening the bright ideas they had just exchanged. She stole a quick glance at Ethan, who was adjusting his collar, the crease in his brow deepening. Do you think she's implying something more? Jess's voice trembled slightly, barely audible above the patter of the rain against the windows. Mabel? Ethan's expression shifted towards concern, pulling him momentarily from his thoughts. She's known for her colorful opinions. Don't take it too seriously. But Jess couldn't shake her unease. But what if it means something? The words spilled out before she could stop them. Her heart raced with questions she was afraid to voice fully. What could she know about you? About the diner? Ethan sighed, seeming to weigh the air between them. Look, Jess, I'm here to help. The past is messy, but he hesitated, his gaze roaming the diner almost like he was searching for his own thoughts in the reflection of the faces surrounding them. Maybe we should address it, Jess said, her resolve firming up. If we're going to do this, we can't have any secrets between us. He finally met her gaze. You deserve honesty. The rain fell steadily, creating a rhythm that matched the pounding in her chest. Suddenly, she felt a connection to all the stories that hung in the air around them, stories waiting to be unearthed. Then let us talk about your partners. Who are they really? And what do they want with Cozy Corner? He faltered, his usual confidence wavering. They're investors. They've got plans to revitalize businesses like this, but the details, they're not exactly community-focused. They see numbers and potential, not nostalgia. So, they don't care about what Cozy Corner means to people? Jess's heart sank. She could already feel the warmth of their ideas starting to flicker. No, they might help bring in traffic, but if we're honest, they'll push a quick turnaround to cash out. His voice was steady, but the regret was there. I didn't want to burden you with that. I don't want a fast fix, Jess replied, determination hardening her voice. I want to preserve this place for everyone who loves it. You've got to make them see that too. A spark of something ignited in his eyes. The community night might be the key. If we can get the people invested enough, it might sway their interest toward the heart of Cozy Corner, not just its profit margins. Yes, let us build that bond. Jess leaned closer, her heart racing not just from the plans forming, but from the hope she saw reflected in his eyes. If we show them how much it means to us, maybe we can convince them to stick around. to not make this just another business deal. As they launched into brainstorming for the event, something shifted in Jess. The storm outside now felt lighter, almost like a cleansing. And yet, the shadow of Mabel's warning loomed, threatening to tarnish their dreams. Jess pushed it out of her mind, focusing on the here and now, but an insistent knot of worry remained. Jess, Ethan paused, pulling back slightly as he looked at her with deep intensity. Would you ever want to know more about your father and his past? You seemed to hint that you had curiosity. Those words dropped in the air, and Jess felt the weight of them like an anchor. She'd always skirted around that part of her life, the stories left untold. But now, standing on the brink of change, did she want to dive in? What are you saying? She asked, a flicker of disbelief clouding her response. What if everything is connected? He pressed, his gaze locking onto hers like a magnet pulling her in. What if your father's past holds the key to more than just Cozy Corner's future? Now, Jess's heart raced for a different reason. The storm outside transformed as a realization dawned on her this partnership might uncover truths she never wanted to confront. But was she ready to face them? A shaking breath left her lips. As she looked into Ethan's earnest eyes, she caught a glimpse of what lay ahead, deep, tangled roots reaching back into her father's life, intertwining with her future. And just like that, it became clear, Jess wasn't just stepping into a business partnership. She was about to confront a legacy that could change everything. What exactly did Ethan know, and how was it tied to her father? With each stroke of her pen, she understood one thing: this was just the beginning of unraveling a truth that perhaps needed to stay buried. Where would it lead them? Jess leaned back in her chair, her mind reeling. The words hung in the air between her and Ethan, heavy with implications. The rain outside intensified, mirroring her internal turmoil. Was she ready to dig into a past that had always felt out of reach? The thought sent a shiver down her spine. Jess? Ethan's voice broke through her thoughts, gentle yet insistent. Are you okay? She took a deep breath, the cool air filling her lungs. I don't know. It's just my father was always such a closed book. Every time I tried to pry into his past, he'd just change the subject. Memories of her childhood flickered, a young girl with wide eyes, pleading for stories that would never come. Ethan nodded, emotion flickering across his face. I can't imagine how tough that must have been. But if it helps, you're not alone in this. I want to support you, whatever you decide. The sincerity in his voice soothed some of her anxiety. Maybe it was time to face the unknown, to untangle herself from the tight grip of her father's silence. Okay, she finally said, a note of determination creeping back into her voice. Let us explore this connection, and not just for Cozy Corner. I want to understand my family's history too. A flicker of relief crossed Ethan's features. All right, we'll figure this out together. He leaned forward, eyes shining with newfound commitment. And maybe we can find some clues during community night. People love to share stories. The idea seemed to electrify the air between them. Jess couldn't help but smile, even as her heart beat faster in anticipation. You really think we can get them talking? Absolutely, Ethan said, the warmth of his enthusiasm infectious. If we connect the event to something meaningful, people will open up. We'll invite them to share their favorite memories of Cozy Corner, even those tied to your father, if you're comfortable. I think I would be, Jess replied, her voice steadier as hope began to flicker within her. Maybe breaking the silence could lead to something good. As they dove into planning again, ideas flowed more freely, and the diner felt brighter. Jess jotted down notes, each word sparking creativity and inspiration. She envisioned vibrant decor, music from the past, and a space filled with laughter and stories. If people could feel the love and nostalgia that Cozy Corner represented, the investors might just see its worth like a priceless jewel left buried in the dirt. Suddenly, Jess's phone buzzed on the table, jolting her from her thoughts. She glanced at the screen, heart sinking. It was a text from her mom, and the uncertainty of what it could bring made her hesitate. Everything okay? Ethan asked, his brow furrowing in concern. Just my mom, Jess replied, not wanting to bear her worries aloud just yet. I'll reply later. All right, he said gently. But just remember, whatever's going on with your family, I'm here for you. Their eyes locked, and for a brief moment, the world outside faded. The promise of understanding hung like a soft glow, radiant and comforting as they wrapped up the discussions for community night. Jess felt the weight of her father's hidden life pressing on her. She'd be digging deep, and there was no telling what she'd find. But now, it felt like she wasn't just uncovering family secrets. It was about shaping a future for herself and everyone who loved Cozy Corner. Would she have the strength to face the truth? And would Ethan's connection to her father reveal more than just their shared interest in the diner? As the last ideas flowed onto the paper, a creeping dread settled in alongside her excitement. She had opened a door, and somewhere behind it was the truth of her father's legacy. What would she find on the other side? Jess stared at her phone, the screen glaring at her with a message that felt both comforting and daunting. With a deep breath, she finally tapped it open. "Hey honey, just checking in. Hope you're doing okay. Call me when you can." It was a simple message, but it stirred up a rush of emotions in her. Jess thought about her mother, how she had always been the bridge between her and her father, a gentle buffer whenever Jess inquired about the man's past. But now, every unanswered question loomed larger than ever. Why did her father choose to hide so much from her? Ethan's voice brought her back to the present. "You okay?" he asked, tilting his head, concern etched on his face. "Yeah, I'm thinking about my dad. And my mom." Jess sighed, running her fingers through her hair. "I don't know how to bring this all up." Starting with one small conversation could be the key, Ethan suggested, his tone calm. "You've got this, right?" she replied, trying to instill some confidence in her tone. "It's just a conversation." They folded the community night planning into the back of their minds, at least for now. The room felt heavier with unsaid words, yet as she looked into Ethan's honest eyes, she felt an odd mix of dread and hope. Maybe tonight, she'd be able to tell her mom she wanted to know more about him. Before it settled too deep into her mind, Jess decided she needed an outlet. "Let us go for a walk, clear our heads?" she proposed, and Ethan nodded, a slow smile forming. The fresh air hit Jess like a cool splash, awakening her senses. The rain had stopped, leaving a shimmering glow on the streets. As they strolled side by side, she could hear laughter and chatter from nearby diners. Each sound felt like a reminder of the community that thrived around them, something she longed to embrace in her own life. "I used to sneak out here with my friends for shakes after school," she shared, feeling nostalgia bubble up. "We'd pretend we were adults, talking about dreams and life." Ethan chuckled. "Did you ever think you'd be running Cozy Corner one day?" "Not at all." Jess laughed, the tension lifting just a little. "But it's funny how life works. I never thought I'd be in this position, figuring out not just how to save the diner, but also learning about my family. It's overwhelming and comforting at the same time." "Are you scared, Jess?" Ethan asked, his gaze unwavering. She considered the question, her heart racing. The fear of uncovering her father's secrets wasn't the only emotion swirling inside her. There was a flash of excitement too, the thrill of discovery. "Yes," she admitted, "but I'm also curious about what has been hidden, about who he really was." Ethan stopped walking, turning to face her directly. "If it helps, I'm genuinely behind you. Whatever you decide to dig into, I'll be there." "Thank you," she replied, warmth flooding through her. "Honestly, it means a lot to me. It's like you're my anchor." Their fingers brushed together as they resumed walking. Jess felt a connection with Ethan deepen, one rooted in vulnerability and shared purpose. As they turned a corner, the diner loomed in front of them, its neon sign buzzing softly. The familiar sight tugged at something deep within her. "Let us make community night special," she said, determination filling her voice. "Absolutely. Every memory shared will bring you closer to the truth about your family," he encouraged. Moments later, Jess paused on the sidewalk. "You know, Ethan, there is something I haven't told you. My dad, he had a business partner, someone he trusted deeply. I've seen old photos, but I never thought much of it. Until now. Do you want to track them down?" he asked, excitement brightening his eyes. "I think we need to," Jess said, her pulse quickening. "Finding them might give us the answers we're looking for." Just then, her phone buzzed again. Jess glanced down, and her breath caught in her throat as she read the text. It was from her mother. "I found something in your father's old things that might be important." What did her mother discover, and how did it connect to the mystery Jess was beginning to unravel? Her heart raced as she looked up at Ethan, both of them sensing they were on the brink of something monumental. Jess's fingers trembled slightly as she read the text again. I found something. It might be important. Those words echoed like a drumbeat in her head. What could her mother have found? Her heart raced, each beat a reminder of how much was at stake. Ethan's brow furrowed with concern. Are you okay? He asked, reaching out to gently squeeze her wrist. The warmth of his touch sent a shock of gratitude through her. I think I need to get home and talk to my mom, Jess admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Do you want me to come with you? Ethan offered. She could see the eagerness in his eyes, the willingness to support her, and it filled her with a sense of calm. Yes, I'd like that, she said, the simple affirmation offering a deeper comfort than she expected. They made their way back to Jess's house, the air thick with anticipation. Every step felt charged with what was to come. When they reached the front door, Jess paused for a moment, resting her hand on the doorknob. It felt heavy, like a decision that weighed heavily on her soul. She could feel Ethan's presence behind her, a steady anchor, urging her forward. Inside, the house was quiet. Jess called out, "Mom, I'm home." Her voice bounced off the walls, breaking through the stillness. A moment later, her mother appeared from the kitchen, a dish towel draped over her shoulder. "Jess, you're back." Her mom's smile faded slightly as she noticed Ethan standing just behind Jess. "Oh, hi, Ethan." "Hi, Mrs. McCabe," he replied, shifting a little on his feet. "Everything okay?" her mother asked, glancing between them. Jess took a breath. "Can we talk?" "It's about Dad." Her mom's expression shifted, her eyes widening with understanding. The weight of the conversation settled around them like a thick fog. "Of course. Why don't we sit?" They moved to the living room, where photographs of happier times adorned the walls. Jess could feel the place was filled with memories, both cherished and bittersweet. She settled onto the worn couch, and Ethan chose to sit just beside her, close, but respectful. "I got a message from you," Jess started, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "You said you found something important?" Her mother nodded, biting her lip. "Yes, I wasn't sure if I should bring it up," but she reached beneath the coffee table and pulled out a small, weathered box. "Your father kept this among his things." Jess's heart raced as her mother opened the box. Inside were various letters and a few old photographs, images of her dad she had never seen before. One photo held her breath as she recognized her father standing next to a tall man laughing heartily, the same spark of mischief in both their eyes. "Who is he?" Jess asked, pointing at the man in the photo, her voice trembling. An old pang of longing surged through her. This was the hidden side of her father's life. That's Samuel, his business partner, her mom revealed. He was more than just a colleague. They built a life together in a way I couldn't fully understand back then. Jess's mind raced, each new revelation adding pieces to a puzzle she was just beginning to explore. "What else do you know? Why did he go away?" Her mom's eyes darkened, a hint of sorrow creeping into her expression. "There were complications, secrets that your father kept close to his heart. Samuel had a dream that went awry." Ethan leaned in, engaged. "We want to learn the truth. Is there more you can tell us about Samuel?" Jess felt a fire ignite within her, the urge to uncover every detail pushing her forward. "I feel like we need to find him again. I believe he is still in the area," her mother said softly, her own curiosity mingling with fear. But reaching out could open old wounds. Suddenly, Jess felt a surge of determination. "It might also help us understand where we come from." The room fell silent as they absorbed the weight of her words. Then Jess's phone buzzed again, this time with an unknown number. With a mix of hope and trepidation, she glanced at the screen. What if this is him? She wondered aloud. Ethan's eyes met hers, and in that moment, they both understood. The next step in this journey was at their fingertips. "Do you want to answer it?" he asked, the excitement palpable. Taking a deep breath, she nodded. But deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of unveiling a mystery that might change everything. Would they find what they had been searching for, or would it bring up even more questions? Jess's heart raced as she stared at the screen. The unknown number felt like a portal to the past, a lifeline that could connect her to answers she desperately sought. She felt Ethan's presence beside her, steady and supportive, as she pressed the green button to answer. "Hello?" she ventured, her voice wavering slightly. There was a brief pause before a breathy voice filled her ear. "Jess, it's me." Recognition hit her like a sudden wave. Samuel? The name barely escaped her lips, disbelief washing over her. Yes. I didn't know if you would answer, he replied, his tone a mix of hesitation and relief. What do you mean? Jess couldn't help but ask, glancing to her mom, whose eyes mirrored her own surprise. How do you know it's me? I've kept up with your family, your mother's updates. Your father, well, his life. It's a long story, but I found out you were looking for me. Ethan leaned closer, his curiosity palpable, as if he too was tapping into the energy of the moment. Can you meet us? Jess blurted out, heart pounding. I need to know more about my dad. There was a heavy silence on the other end, and Jess could feel Samuel's uncertainty through the phone. I'm not sure if that's a good idea. Why not? Jess pressed, desperate now. You're tied to him, to us. You saw who he was when we didn't. Please, I need to understand. After a long pause, Samuel finally said, all right, let us meet tomorrow, but at a public place, a coffee shop. I'll text you the address. Jess could hardly breathe as she ended the call. She looked at her mother, heart racing with a cocktail of emotions. He'll meet us. Her mother's face was a mixture of relief and worry. Are you sure this is a good idea? I have to know, Mom. I feel like everything's just been hanging in the air for too long, Jess urged, feeling her determination swell again. What if Samuel can help us piece together what happened? What if he has answers? Ethan nodded, clearly on board. You'll be okay, Jess. You're strong. We'll figure this out together. I just hope he tells us what we need to hear, Jess replied, the words leaving a bitter tang on her tongue. She could feel the weight of so many unknowns, flickering questions that seemed to bounce off the walls of the living room. Just then, a thought struck her. What if he doesn't want to talk about the past? What if he regrets it? Jess's voice trembled. Her mother reached over, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Then we'll just have to remind him that the past is a vital part of our story. You don't have to do this alone. A slight smile crossed Jess's face as she felt the warmth of her mom's support. Together, they were stronger. The uncertainty of tomorrow filled the air, but Jess felt something awakening inside her, an undeniable urge to confront whatever had been left unresolved. As they settled into the living room, a silent agreement hung between the three of them. No matter the outcome, they would face it together. With the night stretching out ahead, Jess found herself glancing at the box her mom had shown her earlier. Those letters and photographs still sat there, but she felt different now. Ready? Let us look at those together, Ethan suggested, nudging the box with a sense of purpose. Maybe it'll give us more insight before we meet. As they sifted through the letters, each one felt like a breadcrumb leading them deeper into their shared past. Jess could see her mother watching each moment unfold, her eyes reflecting a myriad of unspoken stories. With each turn of the page and sharing of laughter, Jess couldn't shake the feeling that they were edging closer to the truth, the kind of truth that could reshape their world. But what if the truth was more challenging than they ever imagined? As Jess slipped the next letter from the box, the room filled with an unsteady breath, a sense that tomorrow would change everything. The next morning dawned with a weight that seemed to hang in the air. Jess couldn't shake the feeling that everything was shifting. She tossed and turned in bed, glancing at the clock that blinked 7 a.m., the hour feeling like an echo of an unknown future. Ethan was already downstairs, bustling in the kitchen, the familiar sounds of clinking dishes and the aroma of coffee wafting through the air. Jess slipped out of her room, her heart thumping louder with every step. Today was the day for questions and answers, a day that could redefine the very essence of her memories. Morning. How are you holding up? Ethan asked, his voice warm and filled with optimism. Jess managed a tight smile. I don't know. I feel anxious. What if Samuel doesn't want to talk? What if he just disappears again? Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Let us just take it one step at a time. Whatever happens, we'll deal with it together. Her mother wandered in just then, a slight frown creasing her brow. I'll drive you to the cafe. It makes me nervous thinking about you two meeting alone. During breakfast, they slipped back into the comfort of familiar banter, but the undercurrent of anticipation was evident. Jess stole glances at her mother's pensive expression, the way her fingers toyed with her coffee cup. Was she scared? Did she have a million thoughts racing through her mind? As time drew nearer, Jess felt a mix of determination and unease. She rifled through her pocket for her father's old locket, smoothing its cool surface with her thumb. It had always been a source of comfort, a tangible reminder of him. Taking a deep breath, she resolved to be brave, no matter what. The drive to the cafe was filled with a muted tension. Jess's stomach twisted with nerves as they pulled into the parking lot. The cafe was bustling with morning chatter, clinking cups, the hiss of steam, laughter from friends gathering for breakfast. It felt simultaneously warm and chaotic. "Just breathe," her mother said softly, squeezing her hand before they stepped out of the car. With Ethan on one side and her mother on the other, Jess entered the cafe. They forged through the crowd like a small army, heads held steady despite the uncertainty swirling in her heart. Finally, they spotted Samuel nestled into a corner table, nursing a cup of coffee, his gaze distant yet expectant. He rose as they approached, the lines of age etched deeper on his face than she had imagined. "Thank you for coming," he murmured, a hint of resolve coloring his voice. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us," Jess replied, her voice steadier than she felt inside. "I really need to know about my dad." Samuel motioned for them to sit, the weight of years in silence between them heavy and palpable. The air crackled with unasked questions as they settled in. A brief silence ensued, the hum of the cafe filling the awkward space. Jess felt her throat tighten as she prepared to dig into the past. "What do you want to know?" Samuel finally asked, his tone a blend of patience and apprehension. "Everything," she breathed out, surprising herself with the fervor of her own word. "How did you know him? What was he like? Why did things end up the way they did?" Samuel's eyes flicked from Jess to her mother, as if searching for permission or maybe the strength to share stories buried in the shadows of the past. The burden of those memories seemed almost tangible, and Jess felt herself leaning forward, desperate for the truth. Just then, the door swung open with a rush of cold air, pulling Jess's attention away from Samuel. A man sharply dressed in a tailored suit stood silhouetted against the light, scanning the room, all eyes suddenly drawn to him. Jess's pulse quickened as she locked eyes with the newcomer. Was he part of her father's life? Or was there more to this meeting than she ever anticipated? With a flicker of apprehension, Jess turned back to Samuel. "I need to know who he is," she whispered, urgency coursing through her. Tomorrow promised answers, but today was already unraveling into a tangled web of connections. As they sat in the cafe, the buzzing energy of the morning enveloped them. Jess felt the warmth of hope and the chill of uncertainty weaving together. Samuel was a few inches away, but it felt like a lifetime separated them. "Let's take a deep breath, Jess," Ethan whispered, squeezing her hand gently. She nodded, willing herself to keep the waves of emotion at bay. Samuel caught Jess's gaze, his eyes both heavy with regret and sparkling with memories. "Your father," he started, the words seeming to startle him. "He had dreams that carried both of us." "What do you mean?" Jess leaned forward, the anticipation prickling in her fingertips. "What dreams?" Samuel hesitated, the quiet of the cafe becoming palpable. "We aim to build something grand together. Not just a business, but a place that could uplift the community just like Cozy Corner." "He loved this diner," Jess interjected, the mention of her father's love igniting a flicker of courage in her heart. "But why did he leave everything behind? Why the secrets?" Samuel dipped his head, the weight of shame written on his face. "There were promises made and a rivalry that turned sour. Sometimes, life pushes us into corners we can't escape. But your father was honorable. He walked away to protect this community, protect you." The poignant truth hit Jess like a wave. "Protect us?" she whispered, a quiver in her voice. "From what?" Just then, the suited man strode confidently towards them, cutting through the tense air. The way people's eyes shifted toward him spoke volumes. He approached their table, a powerful aura surrounding him. "There you are, Samuel. I didn't expect you to start without me." His voice was smooth yet commanding, aimed like an arrow at the tension of their conversation. "Who are you?" Jess demanded, her heart racing as the stranger's presence loomed larger. The man smirked slightly, but then softened his expression. "I'm here for the truth as much as you are, Jess." "Richard Evans, an old friend of your father's," he replied, and the name hung in the air like a shadow stretching across the morning sun. "An old friend or a rival?" Samuel shot back, his tone sharp. Jess felt the moment shift, the gravity of secrets circling in the air. Richard waved a hand dismissively. "You know how it is, Samuel. We're all connected in ways we don't realize. But Jess deserves to know everything. Then tell me, Jess insisted, feeling the fire of determination light up within her. Why was my father forced to hide? What really happened? Richard cleared his throat, glancing at Samuel as if seeking reinforcement. Your father was strong. He shielded you from the fallout of choices that were beyond his control. When our business took a turn, we lost everything and buried our differences, but they were more complicated than you can imagine. Jess's mind rushed. Complicated how? Corruption. Betrayal. There are forces at play that you don't even know about, he admitted, the intensity in his eyes growing. But your father wanted to ensure you had a normal life, away from it all. With every revelation, Jess felt a heaviness lift coupled with the fresh burden of understanding. So he was trying to protect me all along, she murmured. But what does that mean for me now? For Cozy Corner? For my family? Your father's legacy rests in your hands, Samuel said softly. You're here to reclaim it, not just the diner, but the truth behind the man who loved you. Suddenly, the weight in the room felt lighter. Jess spoke again, her voice steady. So how do we turn this around? How can we face this legacy together? Richard's eyes sparkled with a mix of curiosity and respect. It starts with understanding the whole story, Jess. If we unite our efforts, we can salvage everything your father stood for. Together, Samuel echoed with conviction, his voice stronger now, resonating with the hope that had flickered into view. Ethan shifted closer to Jess, a proud smile lighting his face. You're not alone in this. We'll be your support. Together, we'll build a future that honors your father's legacy and perhaps establish new connections. Along the way, Jess looked around the table, three souls united in purpose, and felt the spark of change ignite. The warmth of community wrapped around them like a protective blanket. Let us do this, she said, determination bubbling in her chest. No longer a girl burdened by sadness, Jess was stepping into a world of clarity and strength. And as they began to map out a plan, she embraced the incredible power of truth. Each passing moment was a stitch in a future woven from connection, love, and legacy, a future where Cozy Corner would stand not only as a diner, but as a symbol of resilience, respect, and community. Jess looked at Ethan, Samuel, and Richard with a radiant, renewed purpose shining in her eyes. She wasn't just reclaiming her past. She was creating a future worth fighting for, a future filled with endless possibilities. Now, as the sun broke through the clouds casting light on the table, Jess knew this was only the beginning of something beautiful. Don't wait, not even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories filled with heart, hope, and transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more hearts just like yours. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. We want to hear your voices. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to show your support. True fans understand the importance of our community. Together, we can do amazing things.